Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Push with Nick and KP. I'm KP. Nick is here in attendance with me once more because today we are going to be going through our coverage of last night's Monday Night Raw. This was the 28th of July edition. So how about we go into all the action that took place across the night, break everything down, and discuss all that occurred. So, starting off the show, on the heels still of the recent passing of Hulk Hogan, very similar to what we saw on Friday Night SmackDown. We would have the entire locker room on the top of the ramp, and there'd be a bit of a video package that would be followed from a 10-bell toll. Just basically commemorating the life of Hulk Hogan. So very similar to what we saw on Friday Night SmackDown, just to get things started and to obviously pay respect to the immortal one. Uh, After that whole thing, celebration sort of ended, came to a close, we would then start the show officially, which would begin with Jey Uso. He would come on down to the ring as per usual, yeeting away. But then he would actually be interrupted by Paul Heyman in the latter stages of his entrance, and as he was about to go for his, one more, like his encore sort of style thing that he does. And Heyman would basically go on to say that Jey has been lied to all of his life. He would talk about his family, and he very much just cement the fact that he's been filled with lies. Like he's been made to believe that things will happen, but actually, when he thinks about it, they don't happen at all. He references really wild stuff like like who buys the presents every year for Christmas, as to who that will be. Obviously, that's a crazy thing to reference there. But he'd also reference Solo Sikoa being chosen over Jey Uso to become the next tribal chief by Roman Reigns. Just things like that would sort of like get into the mindset of Jey Uso. Jey would take to the mic himself before basically saying that Heyman doesn't know his family at all. And it just sort of would basically spiral along like that basically for this opening segment. Honestly, wasn't particularly a massive fan of the way this segment went down. And weirdly enough, I thought Jey felt like, I don't know if he was maybe just a little bit too exertive in his entrance, but he felt like he was like literally clutching for air throughout the whole time. I'm not sure, maybe if he got a little bit too carried away during his entrance, but yeah, it seemed to take a little bit of the sting away from his promo, I thought, to be honest. But yeah, this it didn't really hit. This segment was a little bit sort of a wash away, I think, and I don't think really anything changed after this interaction between both men, which is quite telling. But yeah, that's just my personal take. Obviously, interested to see what you want to say about that later on, Nick. We go into our first match of the show after that, which would be AJ Styles and the Kabuki Warriors. Yep, that's a team taking on the Judgment Day. So it would be Roxanne Perez, Raquel Rodriguez, and Dominic Mysterio representing JD. Yeah, this was basically just it's more so for building Dom and AJ, really, having them in a match together that wasn't a one-on-one capacity, obviously ahead of their SummerSlam Intercontinental Championship match that's going to be taking place this weekend. But obviously you're including the Kabuki Warriors and Judgment Day, who've sort of like had their own thing going on for the past few weeks, probably up to a month or so ago. That's sort of like ongoing along this whole Charlotte and Alexa Bliss thing that Judgment Day also have on SmackDown. So yeah, very, very busy JD at the moment. There's a lot of stuff going through them, and obviously when you have a lot of titles, that's genuinely how things goes anyway. But yeah, the match was quite fun. Don't really have an awful lot to say regarding how it went down, pretty much as expected. In the end, it would be AJ Styles and the Kabuki Warriors getting the victory, with AJ Styles pinning Dominic Mysterio. So obviously very important, going into SummerSlam. AJ with all the momentum right now, and that's been the case for this entire past, number of weeks. This build's been going on for quite some time, obviously with Dom getting injured and whatnot. But it's always been AJ getting into the head of Dominic Mysterio, and Dom sort of like having to run away and like keep his distance, sort of thing. But yeah, big win for AJ Styles and the Kabuki Warriors over Judgment Day. Does all of them, the world of good, really. And yeah, especially AJ Styles pinning the Intercontinental Champion. Obviously, we'll take that into SummerSlam. We then go into our next match, which will see Sheamus go one-on-one with Grayson Waller. Off the back of Rusev's match with Sheamus last week, Sheamus on a high, looking to get a back-to-back victory here up against Grayson Waller, and he would do so in the end, but wouldn't be without Rusev getting involved towards the late stages. Sheamus would be aiming for a brogue kick, and as he would be doing that, Rusev gets up on the apron and he would go to attack Sheamus. Sheamus had it scouted though, knocks him down onto the floor, and then would finish the job against Grayson Waller, hitting that brogue kick that he was going for a moment ago, and getting the 1-2-3. But it was all afterwards that would really count for this, because Rusev would attack Sheamus post-match with Sheamus's shillelagh. And would beat him down with it. He'd eventually lock in the accolade, basically just forcing him to just fade away in the ring, and that would allow Rusev to stand tall at the end of the segment. So this is clearly not over. We're still going along with this feud between the two men, and yeah, it seems to be just not really slowing down anytime soon. So the aggression's still there, and the violence for sure is still prominent. There would be a little segment afterwards with in the show with Lyra Valkyria. She would come on down, basically just vowing that in this time next week she would be the women's Intercontinental Champion. Lyra goes on to say that and correct Becky's mistake from last week, basically saying how if Lyra does lose, she won't be able to challenge Becky for the title as long as she's the champion. So just clearing that up, because there was a point where we're thinking maybe it was a wildly not able to challenge the title ever again, which would just be insane. So thankfully that's been cleared up and that's been put out there. But Becky would come on down moments later with a kendo stick, sort of trying to surprise Lyra, but Lyra will be a step ahead of her. She'd actually fake out, just waiting for her to come down the ramp, and she would launch herself to the outside, attacking Becky, and they would have a little bit of a brawl before eventually Lyra would be the last woman standing in the ring, with Becky retreating up the ramp. But so a little bit more build towards their match at SummerSlam for that Intercontinental Championship, but Lyra basically saying that she's willing to go to all measures to win in that no disqualifications matchup. Nick, what do you make of our first half of SmackDown? Got a fair few things going on here. That opening segment, quite interested to hear your take on that. AJ Styles getting a big win over Dominic Mysterio with the Kabuki Warriors by his side. Sheamus defeating Grayson Waller, and then maybe a little bit on Lyra, if you will.
Yeah, kicking things off with the Hulk Hogan and another video package there. This one felt like it was much better done than the one obviously on Friday, but obviously they also had more time to do it. So yeah, getting that in there was nice as well. The opening segment with Jay and Paul, yeah, I the fact that my main takeaway here was stating something around the Santa Claus bag. If you had that on your bingo card for tonight's episode of Raw, I do believe you are full of it. That was I did not have that one, but Paul Heyman clearly crossing the line there, trying to get under Jey Uso's skin. One thing to call Jey Uso's mom a liar, but then you want to call, my mom and everyone else's mom a liar. You have crossed the line, sir. But yeah, clearly Paul Heyman's motive here to get under Jay's skin. And your comment about Jay's promos, I think that's just how he promos, it feels like. Granted, he's always yeeting before, and that can be, exhausting, as I'm sure you know, KP. But yeah, his promos they're just different, I think, and I personally like them just because they are that different. But regardless, yeah, that was my main takeaway. Paul trying to get under Jay's skin, and it wasn't super effective, as you kind of pointed out. But regardless, it was something. Then the AJ Styles and Kabuki Warriors versus the Judgment Day match with Dominic Mysterio. I actually really like this match. I personally am a fan of the intergender matches, and I think they should do them more often. The highlight of the match for me was AJ catapulting Kyrie quite easily. Like I felt like they were too far away from the ropes, and I was kind of concerned that they weren't going to make it. But AJ just flung her over the ropes. So that was a cool spot to see. And then obviously AJ getting the phenomenal forearm on Dominic Mysterio to get the win. So if you believe in the go-home curse, this show does not pan out nicely for you, likely, in that aspect. Grayson Waller and Sheamus match. Yeah, decent enough match. Obviously not very long. And clearly, about getting some more momentum on Sheamus' side, and then Rusev attempting to interfere. Sheamus not going for that. Still getting the brogue kick on Grayson Waller. And then after the match, being ambushed by Rusev and getting locking in the accolade. So clearly that rivalry is not over quite yet. Lucky for us. The Lyra Valkyria promo, yeah, as you mentioned, it was nice to get that clarification on the actual stipulation for the match, and yeah, then Becky trying to interfere, and that didn't work out either. So Lyra clearly standing tall here on the Go Home episode of Raw as well. Yeah, lots of faces standing tall here in this opening segment, but another couple of promos we had during the first half as well. Sami Zayn and Karrion Kross basically reiterating what they've been saying. This time, Karrion says, if I win, Sami, you need to say that I was right. And then Sami retorts with, well, if I win, you have to say you were wrong. So very basic, but, clearly the intensity there in that promo. But to KP's delight, I'm sure it does appear that we are getting close to reaching the end of that rivalry. We also see a Bayley promo, and in that Bayley promo, Bayley's asked, you missed out on your opportunity. Well, she wasn't asked, but she said, I missed out on my opportunity for the IC title as well as the tag team titles, and then I missed Mania and SummerSlam. So clearly the role model is not in good ways. I wish there was a way we could get her on the SummerSlam card, but not much time. But yeah, I thought that was noteworthy as well. Bayley missing out. It is crazy, someone of her stature missing out on the second big PLE like that. But yeah, very, very promo heavy first segment of Raw. But overall, I felt like everything was moving along quite nicely for SummerSlam.
Yeah, Bayley having already missed WrestleMania, now seemingly missing SummerSlam. It's quite crazy, really. Obviously someone of her talents and just being involved in so many big stories recently. Yeah, it's quite interesting to see that she isn't going to be on the card again. So I think maybe it could be sort of like a big thing coming for her after SummerSlam, maybe sort of like a change of mentality, to mixing things up a little bit. But I guess hypothetically speaking, there we don't know what's going to happen. But how about we move on to the second half of Monday Night Raw? And next up, we would get a very big women's tag team match up here, 4 versus 4. It would be the team of Rhea Ripley, Stephanie Vicaire, Nikki Bella, and Io Sky taking on Chelsea Green, her Secret Harvest, that'll be Alba Fire and Piper Niven, as well as the Women's World Champion Naomi. This would be a pretty chaotic contest. Not gonna lie, it was quite fun to watch. There was a lot that took place during this matchup, but yeah, there was just carnage everywhere you look. Basically, it started off pretty reasonably, with just one person from each team active at a time, and then progressively it sort of got a little bit more intense as time went on. And then eventually got to a point where it was just everybody just going at it, and just it was a struggle to keep tabs on every single person. Got to a point where, in the end, Rhea Ripley, Stephanie Vicaire, Nikki Bella, and Io Sky would get the victory. Rhea with a big win. For her going into her match at SummerSlam. Triple threat match has taken place with Naomi and Io Sky. The Secret Harvest, continuing to take losses, which is just something that they're just doing for fun at the moment, really. But realistically, it was never going to go any other way. You look at the two teams, and you got that absolute powerful quartet of Ripley, Vicaire, Bella, and Sky. Like, there was no way they were ever going to lose, and it makes more sense for them to win as well. So Naomi's not really going to get hurt too much from taking the L in this particular match. She wasn't the one that was pinned anyway, so no real problems for her there. And just a pretty fun 4 versus 4 tag team match, and it did what needed to be done. It got a lot of women involved, and we made a bit more progression towards SummerSlam. Following on from that, we would then have another tag team contest. This would be for the WWE World Tag Team titles. And we would see Judgment Day putting them on the line up against the LWO. That would be Joaquin Wilde and Cruz del Toro. Again, pretty decent matchup here, pretty fun tag team contest. We get to a point where El Grande Americano obviously has been, beefing with Dragon Lee specifically, but LWO, as a whole. And he would come on down only to be cancelled out by Dragon Lee pretty instantaneously. To be fair, would cause a minor distraction really in the grand scheme of things. Before Dragon Lee would cancel him out, the match would carry on. We go from there, and suddenly, as you know, LWO are looking to like close this one out. We actually get somebody else in a mask and like a different attire that we haven't seen before, and they would actually cost LWO the contest. This would be somebody different from the El Grande Americano that we know and love, and perhaps one that we've seen in the past that people think is a different person for the one that we have now. But yeah, we get somebody else seemingly very different, different mask, different attire, and they would cost the LWO the contest, and Judgment Day would take advantage after that distraction. To get the victory, but as soon as the guy would arrive, he would be gone in a flash. Like no one really got much sight of him except for like one shot of the camera. So yeah, quite interesting to see, where exactly this is leading and why this is taking place. But yeah, I didn't have another masked individual being involved on my bingo card for this particular matchup and this show of Raw. So yeah, interesting for sure. We got another masked figure going around, but I guess we'll have to wait and see where this goes. But Judgment Day retaining, I think, is the right call. It makes sense, and ultimately, it was a fun match. So, a little bit of a twist and turn, which we quite like. Coming up after that, we would have a promo between Gunter and ultimately CM Punk in the end. We'd start off with Gunter in the ring, and he would basically talk about Punk and his interaction with him last week, saying how saying how Gunter himself held up to the man who's supposedly known as the best on the mic in the business. He would claim that he's left Punk speechless after their conversation that they had last week and would question his validity of calling himself the best in the world still. Punk would sooner or later interrupt and would basically question the world champion about having left him speechless last week, but would then correct him, saying that he's far from that. He's got plenty to say, including the fact that he doesn't want to become the world heavyweight champion. He actually needs to become the world heavyweight champion. That's exactly what he would say, and he would emphasize the fact that he needs it multiple times throughout this entire segment. He would go on to say stuff about like how he doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, but he does understand what addiction is because this whole thing, wrestling, the crowd, everything to do with it, that is his addiction. So quite a cold line there, to be fair, from Punk. He'd go on to say how Gunter is right about how that he doesn't deserve the right to call himself the best in the world. Before saying that he's actually earned the right to call himself that. So it's not just saying it; he genuinely has earned it as far as he's concerned. Gunter would attempt to shut Punk up, but Punk would actually put the mic, his hand on the mic, just stopping Gunter from actually saying anything. Would basically look straight into his eyes and would tell him that at SummerSlam you're finally going to realize what it's like to be in the ring finally with the best in the world. So honestly, really good segment between both men. Really thought this one hit home. Punk delivering some really good lines in this one. Gunter, not really backing down, and I thought he did a good job as well. But yeah, I think it was a great interaction. They're building up their match really nicely towards SummerSlam. And yeah, definitely really keen to see how they are going to play that one out because I'm not entirely sure where my head's at the moment with that one. Need a little bit more thinking, but this was a really good promo. Then our main event, we would have Jey Uso one-on-one with Bronson Reed. This would be a match between the two of them, and it would ultimately end in disqualification. We'd have Jey Uso technically win by DQ because Bron Breakker would come on out and spear Jey Uso on the outside. Roman would come on down sooner or later to the aid of Jey, but Bron and Bronson would be able to fend both of the men off eventually on the outside of the ring. We'd have a bronze spear on Jey before then Bronson would hit a tsunami onto Jey straight afterwards. They then turn their attention over to Roman Reigns, Bron laying him out from the apron to the announce table in that little dive that he does, and then he would bring him into the ring. Bronson would hit a tsunami on Roman Reigns, and that would be the end of the segment and the show. So yeah, I mean, Bron Breakker said that he had a plan earlier on in the night, and I'm guessing that was the plan to basically just annihilate both men. And I guess it's job done for the pair. So yeah, they build into their match at SummerSlam very much in the ascendancy, very much with all the momentum. And I guess we'll have to see what's left of Jey and Roman at the end. At the end of this show and going into SummerSlam. But Nick, second half of Monday Night Raw, a lot went down. Women's tag, big match up there. Judgment Day successfully defending, another masked figure getting involved. Gunter and CM Punk throwing it down on the mic, and then Jey Uso and Bronson Reed before the carnage afterwards, including Roman Reigns. What did you make of it all?
Yeah, an 8-woman tag match I thought was pretty good, along with the intergender match. I felt like those were both matches we don't see very often, so it was something refreshing and nice to see. And then obviously Stephanie Vaquer getting the win here. I like that as well. And I noted, at least I thought I noted, that it looked like Alba Fire was the MVP of the match for me. She just felt like she was in the right place at the right time, getting in pretty significant offense considerably over the match. So maybe it's wishful thinking, but maybe they realize that she is a better talent than she's currently being treated as. Unfortunately, I think all three women you could say that for, being the Secret Harvest, I think could benefit massively from just a singles run at this point, because they all three are better than what they're being treated as, especially Chelsea, obviously. But all three of those members of that team deserve to be treated better than what they are currently. I don't recall, but maybe I just don't remember correctly. But Nikki Bella handing out lots of kisses, it was strange to me. It just feels like I'm not gonna get into it, but it was just kind of weird. I thought it was weird. I think she kissed Vaquer like 3 or 4 times, and I don't know why. I just found that odd. It felt like it was out of place. But regardless, for the match itself, I thought that was good enough. The other tag team match with LWO and the Judgment Day. Yes, you correct. I did not have two different versions of El Grande Americano on my bingo card, but I love that angle. Like they could do so many things with that. They could continue, bring up new El Grande Americanos. They could have, what if we ever like to get a team of El Grande Americanos? Like I think most people either love it or you hate it, and I personally am one that loves it. And yeah, I think the Judgment Day retaining here was a good call. But that being said, I feel like LWO did put out a pretty good effort here. I think for whatever reason, I think it's partially lazy booking, but I think they are massively underrated, LWO, and I think they deserve more credit than they get, because they are a very viable tag team, and we should put some more respect on their name. The CM Punk and Gunther promo, I thought it was an interesting choice for Gunther to call CM Punk speechless. CM Punk is many things, but speechless is not one that I would put on that list. But yeah, very much CM Punk disputing that point and getting having plenty to say. Yeah, I thought this promo was good as well. I think I think we're reiterating kind of the same points. Clearly, the whole rivalry being around Punk isn't the best in the world. That would be Gunther, to which I would agree. But that being said, it is amazing what you can do with the rivalry when both members of said rivalry are present on a week in, week out basis. So not pointing fingers, but you know who you are. Then getting into the last match with Bronson Reed and Jey Uso. Yeah, I think the ending was always relatively predictable. I think that's fair to say. And then, Braun Breaker saying he had a plan. I think most of us probably could have figured that plan out. Obviously, OTC being there as well. But yeah, the bad guys standing tall here to end the segment. It's an interesting note to see how that will play out at SummerSlam. And I don't know. I could be in the minority here, but I haven't personally seen any Seth developmental stories on his progress and or lack thereof. I still have this weird feeling that the whole injury is a work. I could be just trying to make something out of nothing, but I still feel like obviously Paul holding that Money in the Bank briefcase, it's just this idea in the back of my head, and I can't seem to kick it. But I don't know. We'll wait and see, I guess. But I'm still not 100% convinced. Just the doubt, the inner doubter in me, I suppose. But yeah, for Raw as a whole, I felt like this was a pretty good show. Very promo segment heavy, I will say that. But in the grand scheme of things, as we always say, everything was very much continuing the story. And for a go home show, especially, this was better than most. I will say that. So I give this one an 8 out of 10. Yeah, I think 8 out of 10 is pretty fair. Again, has me very much looking forward to SummerSlam and everything here kind of having a point to it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think that for the majority of this show, things definitely moved in the right direction. I think maybe just the only thing that I didn't particularly vibe with was that opening segment, but everything else was pretty great. But opening segment, I mean Jey Uso and um, uh, Paul Heyman, just to make that very clear. But yeah, I think that there were some really good moments throughout the entire show. I think that, building towards SummerSlam for a large part of this, there were some great moments. I think the Gunter Punk promo especially is probably one of my favorite parts of the show. The tag matches were both pretty fun, to be fair, and a little bit chaotic in their own rights. And yeah, I think that, just it was just good to see, nothing that really sort of like just sort of like held anyone back, and we basically just kept on going forward, which is obviously what we always want to see. Regarding rating wise, yeah, I'd probably give it an 8 as well, just because of the fact that yeah, I think nothing particularly like ground shaking did take place, but nothing bad happened. It was a good show, so it was pretty solid throughout the entirety and very consistent. So yeah, I don't really have anything too bad about it to say. So yeah, I think it was a nice little go home show going into SummerSlam. Looking forward to some of these matches. We've got some pretty big ones coming up. So yeah, excited for sure. But regarding everything that took place here on Monday Night Raw, that's been our recap. So everybody, thank you very much for tuning on in and listening to what we've had to say about it. If you agree or disagree with anything that we've said, please let us know in the comments what your thoughts are. We'd love to hear them. And please feel free to like the video, subscribe to our channel to keep up with future content coming on out. It's a very busy week for us here at the Push. We've got a lot of stuff coming on out. We got NXT recaps and we've got SummerSlam predictions coming up as well. So yeah, plenty to discuss and to look forward to throughout the rest of the week. But for now, we'll see you all in the next one. And thank you very much for tuning on in. Been the Push with Nick and KP, and we'll see you all in the next one. Thank you, everybody, and goodbye.